Awesome.
Fantastic.
Okay, I don't know what's wrong with all of you. Each time I ask the question, how are you? And everybody just keeps quiet. Are you still hungry? So I told you there's a competition for the best room, okay? So if I don't win that, I'm going to come after you guys. I know where you all live, all of you.
Where's your
Okay,
camera?
and for those who live in the US, I'm going to report you to Donald Trump. Well, and you know what he's going to do, right? He's going to tweet about you. There you go. Okay, so thank you guys for coming back. This is the first session of the afternoon, and I'm quite excited about it because it's about techie stuff, right? The title of the session is Building Physical Spaces for Virtual Reality, Leading Edge Immersive Environments. So I'm really excited just to hear what these great speakers have to say. So we have 3 amazing speakers and of course an amazing, awesome moderator. The 3 speakers are Jeff Brum, Stephen Cartwright, Ed Lantz. And our amazing moderator from Michigan is Kate McCallum, right? Okay, so this is how it's going to go. We'll have 45 minutes. I'll introduce Kate, and Kate will take it away. But before I introduce that, because I'm trying to woo all of you from outside Canada to move to Alberta, Edmonton especially, I always give one fun fact, okay? And if you don't like the fun fact, you can report me, but I don't care. So, in the session we have before lunch, one of the key things that the minister, and of course Mayor Nenshi mentioned, was the importance of having a nice environment for entrepreneurship. The fact that for young folks like us, it's not really about the money anymore, it's about having a conducive environment. Is the environment good for us to live in, to raise kids, and to other things? So, do you know that Alberta hosts 70 festivals each year? Like 70. So whether it's -40, we're out there, we are skating. Whether it's hot, we're having like some rib fest and eating all the ribs. And whether it's whatever, we're out there having fun. So, 70 festivals. So if your city or your state is not having festivals as many as ours, it's time to move to Alberta. Okay, so Kate. Kate is a multifaceted producer, writer, and transmedia consultant, passionate about storytelling, creativity, innovation, consciousness, media, and the arts, and their effect on culture and society. She serves on the National Board of the Producers Guild of America, the PGA New Media Council, and she's a member of the TV Academy. Please join me in welcoming Kate and the panel members.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor to be here. It's a beautiful city, what we've had a chance to experience so far, and I want to especially thank Lori Farley and Art Proctor for the invitation. Lori gave us background on what Calgary has been planning, which is really fascinating. There's a group of about 10 people that have come to, or 10 different industry organizations that have come together to initiate planning for immersive experience centers or venues, one which is more R&D and industry focused, the other more public facing on arts and entertainment and culture education. So we've been able to bring together 3 wonderful thought leaders and speakers to give and share their backgrounds and experience in some of the work that they've been doing around ideas that could be incorporated into these venues and space. So I'm not going to talk very much because they have so much to say and lots to share with you. So I'd like to first just introduce them briefly, and then we'll go through presentations from each of them, and then open up to some questions, and then questions from the audience. So first we have Ed Lantz, who's the founder and president, CTO of Vortex Immersion Media. And Ed is an entertainment technology engineer, entrepreneur, and innovator in large-scale immersive environments. Ed founded Vortex Immersion Media in 2007 to bring 360-degree immersive interactive experiences into mainstream entertainment, arts, and culture. And then next to Ed is Jeff Brum, and Jeff is a solutions consultant with Mechdyne Corporation of Canada. And Jeff has been immersed in VR for 16 years with startup Big Space Systems, then Mechdyne. His roles in product management, marketing, and global development serve energy, academic, and other applications. And lastly, we have Stephen Cartwright, who's the technical manager at the University of Calgary. Stephen is the manager for a large modeling and simulation research group with many industrial projects and a collaboration center that uses extended reality, or XR, technologies. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ed to speak first.
Hi, it's great to be here. I thought what I'd do is talk a little bit first about extended reality. This is a classic, it's called virtual reality continuum. And really what this is showing is that between a pure VR experience, where you opaque out the world and you're completely immersed, and a pure reality experience like we're having right now, there's really a whole range of mixed reality applications and technologies. And so, you know, just to spell this out a little bit more, I call this an immersive media ecosystem because often applications can span across multiple platforms. So each of these platforms is essentially a portal or a window into a cyber reality. And that cyber reality can stand alone or it can overlay onto the physical world. So my particular area of expertise is down here. Spatial augmented reality is where we project directly onto the environment. So in this case, we'd get rid of all these fluorescent lights, and we would only have video projectors in this room. Everything would be spray painted gray, let's say. And you could walk into the room, reach into the cloud, pull your personal data, throw it on a table, and share photos, by swiping, and make friends with people by shaking hands like that. So that's an example of a spatial augmented reality application. What we've done is we've taken that and instead of projecting on a room, which has a lot of features that anchor you to the room, we project on a dome. So this is just a particular method of AR, if you will. I just wanted to point out these two extremes where in the one case you're opaquing out the world with goggles, and maybe that's ultimately like the Matrix, where you're floating in an amniotic fluid. There's cords hooked into your nervous system. You're not at all aware of your physical presence. You're completely present in a cyber reality. Of course, so are all your friends, so you're hanging out in a cyber world, right? The other extreme where I tend to focus more is what I call the holodeck-like technologies, where you project a virtual or cyberspace into a physical space. So it's that merging of physical. Ultimately, you know, we're all going to be wearing the AR glasses or the implants or whatever, and we'll be able to experience that all the time. But up until that point, projection technologies are also very useful for creating those sorts of environments. So this is what I focus on, large-scale, real-time interactive group immersive environments. And I can show you some of the variations of that you've probably experienced, you may have experienced, include portable planetariums, event domes, digital planetariums, giant screen, digital cinema, like the TELUS Spark down the street here. They have a digital dome that's used as a cinema. And then also themed entertainment. There's all kinds of applications like that. Digital planetariums, these are actually planetariums that I designed over the years. Library of Alexandria in Egypt, the world's largest children's museum in Mexico City, and so on. These are big brick and mortar, fairly expensive installations. But when I founded Vortex in 2007, what really seemed to sell were these pop-up experiences. So we started popping up domes, and I'll show you more about that in a moment, some case studies. There's also themed entertainment domes. I thought I'd expand on that because if you've been up to Vancouver, the Flyover Canada experience is a dome. We just worked on a project for Vulcan called the Holodome, which is a full sphere theater that you walk into and walk around on with vibroacoustic floor. There's a lot of entertainment-related applications of these spaces. And we've explored a lot of them. We've had a dome theater up in downtown Los Angeles for the last 8 years called the Vortex Dome. We've done concerts, EDM parties, live theater, which is very popular because the performers want to make eye contact with the audience. but they also want to play in virtual environments, so this sort of fuses those two. Esports is an up-and-coming application. Art and cultural events, we're always doing nonprofit events and fun stuff like that. So these domes are less individually interactive, more of a group interactive experience or a narrator-driven experience. So think of it as a tour bus through VR, where you can interact with the bus driver. And hey, you guys want to go over here or over there? Oh, check this out. Let me show you something really cool, right? And so the narrator has a joystick, or maybe it's a shoutcaster in an esports tournament, flying you in to see the action, right? So the VR headsets are more like an at-home video version of VR, where you have more personal interactivity, but you know, it's not like you're out with your friends, right? And this just amplifies that message that, you know, when you're out of home, do you really want to go out with a bunch of your friends and don a headset and isolate yourself from them? It's also a little hard to eat a popcorn or whatever with the headset on. I suppose it could have a feeding tube, but this is here. You know, here's more of a theatrical experience where you can sit down, connect with your friends, and then interact maybe with gestures or whatever with the display as a group. Other cool things in this format include multicast. You can have a live performance in a dome that's highly immersive. You're not going to get the same experience if it's streamed on the web unless it's streamed into a 360, like this shown here, into headsets. And now you can be virtually present in that space. So you can have a few thousand people in a live event and millions of people in the virtual experience. This just also shows that you can do the same thing with domes. You can dome cast to multiple domes, and so it could be someone live in LA, and you guys here in Calgary are virtually present at the concert. This is our studio in downtown LA, the Vortex Dome. It's 15-meter diameter, and this is where we develop a lot of content and take it out on the road to other domes. Kate actually worked on this show, Mesmerica, which just is debuting in San Diego at the Reuben H. Fleet Science Center at the world's first OmniMax theater. So it's an IMAX dome that they equipped with digital projection, and they have enough of a stage for solo artists to come out and actually do a live performance. It's a lot of fun. Here's a few case studies. Stella Sensorium, immersive dining experience in Toronto. Multi-sensory, vibration, aroma, surround video, surround sound. This is an EDM party that we did in downtown Los Angeles for the founder of Minecraft and 3,000 of his closest friends. A little party he threw. Skrillex and Diplo and DJ Snake. This is Donald Glover, also known as Childish Gambino, up and coming performer. And we put up a 160-foot dome, what is that, 45 meters, in the desert. And 2,500 people per show, 5 shows over 3 days. So that's just an example of the kinds of events that we've been doing. This is a little sizzle reel. He plays laser beam instrument. Childish Gambino and James Hood with Mesmerica. This is the Braves. They perform live at an album release party in our dome. Nokia. Those are black Twitter feeds on the dome, and there was a touch table where you could make virtual Northern Lights on the dome. So this is where we're headed with what we call Cine Theater. This is stadium seating, projection map stage, and up to about 2,500 people. You can go larger, but we like to keep it somewhat intimate. And this is a larger one here. Let's see here. Click. Okay. And this shows some different innovations, including an elevator stage that pushes the artist up into the space. And then this is a 1,300 seat theater. This is what we call a domeplex. So we have a stand-up immersive experience, sit-down immersive experience, and walk-through immersive experiences all clustered together. So I think my time's almost up. This is the Interplex, Axis Interplex we call it. It's a multi-screen entertainment complex, including domes, projection map lobby, all like that. And then this is a fun project we call the VR nightclub. The photonic go-go booth, so you can dance and your avatar's dancing up above your head, like that, finger painting on the dome, fun party space. So anyway, that's an example of what's possible. Oh, I forgot digital spa. This is a relaxation environment. Can be done in hospitality, take people on journeys, mindfulness, meditation, or it could be energizing. You know, it's a mood-shifting environment. Oh, and I forgot the MSG Sphere. This was just announced by the Madison Square Garden's Entertainment. It's a 18,000 seat dome going up in Vegas and London using LED technology. So it's coming. The domes are coming. So thank you for your time.
Chair's pretty hard to read. So next presentation is coming up, and I spent about the same amount of time. So thank you very much for attending today. So VR, it is. I'm going to look at it from a different perspective, a different side of immersion, and a different application set. So before I start, how many of you have tried a VR headset like this? Large number. Was it the first time yesterday, perhaps, when they had the demos outside? No? Okay. I guess the reason I put this slide up is that there's just so much attention being given to these headsets these days, that the media's on them, it's about gaming, it's about entertainment. And I'm not saying they're bad devices, it's just this is what so many people think VR is, but VR's been around for decades. I've been involved in it for about that long. And there's just so many other applications, and I want to get people to think beyond the gaming and the entertainment side. Again, great uses, but there's just so much more. How many people in the room are academics? Or within an organization, whether it's government or business, energy industry, that kind of thing? Okay, so I mean, VR has been used in energy for years and still is. Construction, architecture, and it's growing in many applications. So, yeah, push that, sorry. Boy, my finger is quick. I think I shouldn't have had the brownie because I think I hopped up on that.
It's good brownies.
It was good brownie. Hold on one second. The slide that just went up said really VR is greater than those HMDs, and that's a point that I already made. And to play off the speaker, the lunch keynote speaker, something he said was very important, and he said, visualization is a key component or a stage in the assessment, analysis, and dissemination of data. Whether it's in a business setting or an experimental setting, it's very key. Other parts, this is about where it's heading is collaboration in collaborative spaces and big data and spatial analytics, and that's where a lot of the VR really started, or applications I'm going to show. So this video is a business application. It's a client, Lockheed Martin, and they have built a lab that provides benefit to their business. Again, it's just one application that will give you an idea about how technologies work together. If you can start.
The chill's absolutely amazing. This capability here is really used across the enterprise. We can bring an engineer or a technician into the lab, and we can put on a head-mounted display like the Oculus. When they get in our motion capture system, they're literally sort of immersed in this virtual world, almost a holodeck per se.
You can do virtual walk now for the product. And when you can see it in 3D as opposed to seeing it on a drawing, you catch things much faster and much more effectively.
Scaled one-to-one, so they're seeing the lifelike size of the geometry. They can look for access and clearance issues. And so it serves as a really great way to validate what we're going to do on the production floor before we actually do it.
And one of the things that's really exciting is there's really two technologies here in the chill. One is the cave, where you can actually stand inside, in front of, top, bottom, anywhere around a real-sized object and manipulate that object in 3D space. You can look for appearances, you can look for all kinds of properties of the vehicle. And then in the motion capture area, we can actually become an avatar, step into the factory floor, if you will, run the procedures and the processes, look for interferences, but as an avatar in a virtual world.
And there was a lot of collaboration that was going on between Space Systems Company and aeronautics, who use it extensively through building the F-35 and F-22 aircraft. So a lot of collaboration, a lot of communication back and forth, and I think we brought the best set of capabilities and the best tools here in the chill. And today it's being used across all the Enterprise Space Systems Company, making every program better and easier to build.
All of these things flowing through the digital tapestry across many industry sets are having profound impacts, and we at Lockheed Martin are on the very leading edge of that.
So that facility actually has been in operation for about 7 years. Before that, they were doing a lot of that prototyping with cardboard and plywood. And they made the switch to digital in that digital twin that was mentioned in the keynote. And that facility is actually currently being upgraded because it's providing such value. And it's being used now for the design of the next Mars missions, the propulsion systems and the space capsules and the living quarters and things like that. So it adds a lot of value. And that is a point that I wanted to make. Oh, there it goes. And I went past it. Told you. Is that, again, the technology's been around for decades. These are, majority of what you're seeing here, these are stereoscopic spaces. They are individual spaces. They're shared spaces. They are capable of huge amounts of, displaying huge amounts of data. They're large canvases. They can do 2D. They can do 3D. 3D stereoscopy. It's like watching a movie, but for business purposes, and you can interact with them. And it really depends. There are just so many applications. The value of these spaces depends on your application. To you, we always start with what's your problem, what are you trying to solve, and then you develop the technology to get around it. So as the city thinks about what it might want to develop or industry wants to develop, always think about what are your goals first, and the technology can be found to help you achieve the goal and help you generate return on investment. But it's not new, it's been around, it's proven in different forms, it's scalable. So just thoughts as we go into the rest of the talk. Thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Okay. Thank you for your attention today. I really appreciate you guys being here. So there's been a lot of talk about these immersive spaces all over the place. But we actually have one right here in Calgary, right at the University of Calgary. And that's our Energy Simulation Frank and Sarah Meyer Collaboration Center. And we do visualization and interaction research, 2D, 3D user interface research and user experience research. We do a lot of oil and gas focused stuff, but we also do projects in a host of other domains such as medicine, arts, and science. We work on many different hardware platforms, so it's not, it's about what the domain application requires. It's not about the hardware. So I'm not, necessarily a VR AR advocate. I'm an advocate for technologies that unlock value. However, the VR and AR, the XR space has gotten really good lately with regards to the technology, the software development ecosystems, and the interaction designs. So for that reason, it's of great interest to us. We do a lot of parallel computation, big data kind of work. So that's another thing about us. We're actually primarily an algorithms research group. So we're coming at it from the data and the algorithm side. But as a byproduct of all this data and algorithms research, we end up with really hairy data sets that require a lot of the best-in-class technologies and techniques to analyze properly, such as this petroleum reservoir you see here. So we don't, as I said, we try and be technology agnostic. So we go to the 2D application first, right? But then we become frustrated with the lack of real estate in which to work on the data, right? Because we're constrained to these screens. And in our domains, many of our domains, things such as spatial perception are quite useful. So then we move on to the virtual reality applications in headsets, typically. And then we can collaborate via avatars. But then the next step for us, moving beyond this, is our cave. So this is where we can bring a group of people in and have them share the experience, much like what the previous two presenters talked about. And why do we do this? Well, this solves the problem of co-located collaboration, right? Because, as Ed mentioned, when you bring a group of people together and you put them in VR headsets, then it's an isolating experience. In entertainment, that matters, of course, but it also matters in industrial applications, right? So when you're trying to reveal your plan, to your boss or something like that, and you want to see, the look of despair when he sees your plan. It's important to be able to actually see that without an intermediary such as an avatar, right? And co-located augmented reality is probably a more viable option. However, it's the limitations of the devices right now are currently quite large. There's a lot of limitations. So, and these include a lack of computational capability on the device, limited field of view, and a lack of immersion. So that's why we try and develop for all the platforms and try and develop our applications so they can scale across the platforms, because this enables us to unlock the value of multiple hardware platforms, right? So that you can, if you want to use an application on cheap commodity hardware, that's available. But if you have a large data set or you have industrial needs, you can use expensive but very powerful, highly interactive, high resolution facilities that are directly connected to your data and have a lot of graphics computation attached to them. So why stick with one of these and limit ourselves when we can develop for all of them? And I think even further value is unlocked when you think of the possibilities when you're linking all these environments together, right? So again, not everyone can afford or wants a cave kind of facility, but if people can come in, much like the domes that Ed was talking about, where you have your co-located individuals, and then you have people coming in to that session on commodity devices, that's where I think the real power comes. And I'm not alone in this. There's examples. One example I'll talk about is the University of Hawaii, where they're actually linking their visualization infrastructure across the Hawaiian Islands, right, with low latency interconnects. So you can actually run classes and collaborate across the islands. So I'm going to show you a video from them. I think they're doing some really neat work there.
The University of Hawaii at Manoa is now a leader in data visualization,
which is basically techniques for turning data into imagery to help people make sense of these large amounts of data.
UH's new prominence in the futuristic field is thanks to the successful recruitment of computer science professor Jason Lee, the university's second Hawaii Innovation Initiative hire. Lee came from the University of Illinois at Chicago, where he was an internationally recognized leader in data visualization. He helped develop CAVE, which stands for Cave Automatic Virtual Environment, and invented CAVE 2, a 2D and 3D 320-degree panoramic virtual reality environment made up of 72 flat-screen LCD panels, 20 ambisonic speakers, and 36 high-speed computers.
You step into it, and it's projected with three-dimensional computer graphics, and objects appear, or data appears as if they were real, floating in front of you. So the computer helps you make those pictures, make those connections between all the different pieces of data that you are trying to fuse.
CAVE 2 is being used in medical research, chemistry, automobile design, to name just a few. Lee has secured funding to build a smaller prototype of the next generation of the technology at UH Manoa. It will be called the Cyber Canoe.
It stands for Collaborative Analytics, Navigation, and Observation Environment.
Lee says the University of Hawaii is perfect for Cyber Canoe because of its world-renowned programs like oceanography and astronomy. For example, data visualization can be used to quickly and better analyze massive amounts of data being collected by UH oceanographers.
They can literally swim in this virtual ocean right, and observe their data as it's being collected. I mean, that's one of the voids on this campus, right? And so I'm filling that crucial void right now, but I'm working with the people in oceanography, in astronomy.
The ultimate goal is to build a cyber canoe on each island, connected with high-speed networks that will enable faculty and students to share information, data, and classes across the state and the world.
The canoe sort of works really well as a metaphor because these were the vessels of discovery for the Polynesians. Right now, these electronic canoes are the vessels of discovery for Hawaii to explore the new data age.
So yeah, I've talked about the scientific and engineering applications of these kind of environments. Very important to bring a group of disparate experts from different domains, have them collaborate over the same data. Incredibly important. But also important is the engagement, right? So we do a lot of science education and STEM engagement and women in science initiatives, summer camps, and what a fantastic way to make people aware of what's out there, make people aware of the science, and infuse them with a hunger for learning and knowledge discovery. So, yes, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Those were fantastic, inspiring presentations, and it's really interesting because if we have these three sectors that they're kind of representing in the education and industry and entertainment and arts, what you start to realize is the overriding necessity in all these areas are who's creating the content and upkeeping the technology, maintaining the technology, and implementing it in these different areas. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, each of you, about that, because to me it seems like there's tremendous opportunity in the educational field as well to train these types of specialists that are able to go out into these various sectors to run and design, because you have now creativity and art combined with technology and science. So can you guys speak to that?
I was just saying, you're bringing up a huge issue because these systems in and of themselves are just delivery systems. So what remains to be done are create the applications that get delivered, and that can be a lot of work. It's you have all these different fields that you guys are supporting, and oil and gas and chemistry and oceanography, and each of them require subject matter experts and programmers and applications, the whole thing like that.
And something that is changing the game a little bit is the emergence of the game engines themselves. So the same, if you have tried the headsets and you've tried some of these games and they've been built with something like a Unity or an Unreal, those are very common game engines used worldwide, and those are now more compatible with these immersive environments for businesses, or even for the domes and creating graphics-based content for the domes. And students are starting to learn those in school now, and I would say there's a tremendous opportunity for computer literate, graphics design students to find opportunities not just in the gaming industry but also in business. And I can tell you that I've talked to so many businesses that said, I'm trying to hire, but I keep losing them to the gaming industry. They don't understand that there's a huge opportunity in automotive to be a designer or to be a contributor to digital content, or for any industry. Because again, these oil and gas data, the seismic data is pretty specialized, but these gaming engines are now importing CAD data. You can go direct from CAD into a game engine, and then you have so much potential to create from there. It will get easier. It's still something that requires attention, and we get asked about a lot.
Yeah, it's really all about the content. Like, there needs to be more content, but as others have mentioned, the tools are getting much better. Unfortunately, still very much focused on the consumer devices, but it's getting easier and easier for the industrial visualization environments as well. But yeah, I think it's the future, because like if I look at people, like we try, as I mentioned, we do a lot of analysis of what people are doing in the 2D environments, right? Working on the screens and stuff like that, and I think, man, like after you've gone and done some work in an immersive application, like it's just so much fun. Like, why would you want to, sit there and torture yourself doing hours and hours of work with these, dry, small applications, when you can just go in there and basically play a computer game and do your work, right? That's awesome.
Someone mentioned, Stephen, that several energy companies have implemented VR systems, but and were utilizing them, but then they shut them down. They weren't utilizing them enough, so they were shutting them down. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, we've done a lot of interviews with various companies and done some research and such, and what we kind of determined is a lot of it was centered around the fact that it wasn't easy, right? Like people have work to do, right? And they don't want to be inconvenienced. So if you can make it easy for them to move their application and not interrupt their workflow, then that's very critical to that. And what I mean is a lot of these facilities, they had to develop an application for that or have someone run the application because it was so complicated they needed a person to run the application, right? Where we want to get to is where you're doing your 2D workflow, you drop into VR for some part of it, right? You save your VR experience on your desktop, on your consumer device, and then you take it into your collaboration room and you just play it, right? And this is analogous to just what we do with 2D screens, right? We have a presentation when we want to collaborate and disseminate information and build consensus and all these kind of things. What do? We take our PowerPoint from our desktop, we go to the boardroom and we throw it up on the screen. So if we want to share a 3D immersive experience, why not have that as an option, right? So if you make it that easy, I think that's one factor. And then another thing they did is they, the state of the hardware, the state of the user experience design and practices, they were nowhere what they are now, right? So now 3D user interface design is a much more active area of research, much more understood. And it's not about the hardware, it's about the software, right? So you can put in a $2 million hardware facility, right? But if you're not paying attention to the software aspect and the usability of it, then of course it's not going to work, right? Usability is very important. Like BlackBerry learned that lesson, right? You can have great hardware, but if the software is not dialed, you're not going to get traction, right? So now if you're developing applications from the ground up to take advantage of these, instead of taking 2D applications and trying to make them work, then you have a much greater chance of success.
So Jeff,
just going to add quickly to the spaces that were in Calgary and in Houston that shut down were, I'm going to call them dedicated, that they were considered, or they had this perception that they were dedicated virtual reality spaces. And that was scary to some of the users, like that's the VR room, you don't go in there unless you're doing VR. And I heard that so many times, but really what makes many of these facilities successful, regardless of the scale, is sometimes that it's multi-purpose. And 3D, or at least stereoscopic 3D now, can also, any projector or the displays, the flat panels you saw, are also going to do 2D. So you build out a space that is used 60% of the time for 2D applications and collaboration and group meetings, or a dome for entertainment, but then another part of the time it's used for your VR side or your virtual whatever it is, and you're just getting higher utilization of the room. Every business has to have high utilization rates.
So to your point, it sounds like collaboration and multi-use of these types of facilities is a really good idea, not only for economic reasons, but also for creative solutions.
Absolutely.
So Ed, how are you looking at that from an entertainment perspective, and how are you sourcing content? And then I know that you're also looking at other uses for your venues that incorporate education.
Sure. Well, the domes are really just immersive visualization environments, right? So it could be used for scientific. It could be a city comes in, city planners come in and load up a GIS database and fly over the city, look at floodplain analysis or traffic flow or different things like that. But within the arts and entertainment, there's also really that wide range. I showed the 4D cinema and live theater. And I gave a talk at the Canadian Arts Summit, and there was such an interest. I was really surprised from theatrical performers, because they want to play in VR, but they're like, how do we do that? Like, we make eye contact, we want to connect with our audience, how do we do that in VR, in a headset? And we're like, no, just take the 360 environment and project it in a room, and now you command that environment from the stage, So, but the multi-use, EDM dance parties, and so we're designing either a domeplex with different kinds of spaces, or even making one space, multi-use, so that it can convert over for different.
Okay, great. We're going to open up to questions in just a minute, but before we do that, from the audience, I'd love to kind of imagine it's now 2025. So this is our last question for the panel. Where do you see what you've been up to?
Well, for me it's easy because there's going to be 1,000 domes all over the world, yeah. And everybody will have a dome in their neighborhood.
I think it's about a shared environment or bringing people together, because that's where the real value comes, collaboration, whether it's in business, whether it's in a public application, and the ease of getting content, creating content. Everyone's going to be creating content.
That's right.
Everybody's going to have a canvas that they can present their content in, whether it's a head-mounted display or a dome or whatever it is, any scale in between. Your data is going to become something that's very attached to you, and you'll have opportunities to interact with it.
You might have your own world in the metaverse. You want to build a skyscraper. Well, ecologically that could be difficult in the physical world, but in the virtual world you can play like that. You can do all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be something that we wake up one day and wonder how we lived without it. In all its forms, right? And I think people are going to think of ways that even us in this panel haven't even imagined of how to combine these kind of technologies with physical spaces to create some really interesting ways.
The kids are going to
things
we never thought of. Yeah.
Do we have any questions from the audience? If you'd like to.
Hi, thank you. The one word that often arises when we deal with the immersion factor in VR experiences is the nausea word. How do you see these different versions of entertainment increasing and reducing that? And just maybe if you know of some other technologies that are specifically aiding that.
There's a new headset that just came out that decouples divergence from accommodation. When you put on a headset, you're staring at a fixed plane, but your eyes are verging as if objects are coming closer and further. Those two are normally coupled together, but in the headset they're decoupled. That's one thing that causes issues. Of course, lag when you turn your head and it not, that's a huge one like that. Vertigo, well, if you're afraid of heights, you can't help that really. And then again, the domes, you don't have the lag issue or the so much of those sorts of things. So.
Yeah, and stereoscopy itself, the headsets, because they are 3D vision, some people just don't tolerate that well.
Yeah.
There's a percentage of the population that doesn't. And once you start adding in the motion and the interaction, it starts to exponentially but the other part, computing power can be a big factor. People might be running it on the lowest end graphics card, but then trying to run a big game, that adds to latency, that adds to all those issues that can induce nausea. Right?
Yeah, one thing about the larger spaces is you have proprioception, so you can see your hands and stuff. So if you can load up your visualization infrastructure with a lot of graphics power and keep those frame rates really high, then it should help with that. I think that's my hypothesis.
It's just going to get better and better.
Yes.
Yeah. Next question.
Head-mounted displays were like 8-bit Nintendo devices 20 years ago, and now they've improved dramatically. So,
Hello. So I got two questions that probably can be combined together. You mentioned theater and performance artists are very interested in it. And I was just wondering, has there been interest with museums and two-dimensional artists? And then also a separate question, but that can be combined together, archaeology and city development and rebuilding cities with the VR technology. How have you heard anything? Have you been doing anything? And or is there enough funding for them to even do it? It's a bunch of questions here together.
The domes, require infrastructure, right? So we've had art museums contact us wanting to do, but mostly what you have is a little pop-up dome inside of a gallery or something. There's some of that. I've seen some headset type fine arts as well.
King Abdullah University, Science and Technology in Saudi, they have a 6-sided virtual reality room. They do virtual archaeology there, so preservation of artifacts. Library of Alexandria, similar. University of Wyoming does some virtual modeling in artifacts as well, and there's other similar examples.
I was just going to add on that one of our partners here in Calgary is working on a global project for a historical ruin that was demolished or something happened to it, doesn't exist anymore. So they're taking all the people that ever took photographs at that place, and they're putting them all together to actually recreate that in virtual reality.
Photogrammetry.
Yes. 10 years ago, Museum of London did a stereoscopic curved screen fly-through of a mummy. So they did a virtual autopsy of a mummy and charged admission and made a ton of money. Yeah.
Hi there, I'm Renee. I'm the CEO of Airwall. We're part of the startup pitch that's going to be happening tomorrow at 9 a.m. We do augmented reality for motion picture effects, and we're actually, Ed, we're getting quite a bit of interest to use your Vortex Immersion Theater with Ivo Haining and Brett Leonard, and wondering how are you guys integrating with traditional media, film and TV? Is that happening, or are you getting quite a bit of interest, or what's going on there?
Sure. Well, being located in downtown Los Angeles, we have a lot of filmmakers and traditional media content creators come through. I think, VR has taken off like wildfire in a lot of the content creation communities. So everyone's a VR producer now, and the cameras, for capturing 360 cinema have proliferated. There's a lot of great software coming out and everything now. So I think you're going to see a lot of innovation in that space. In terms of the theaters, again, that's infrastructure. We're in a cap raise actually to build domes as brick and mortar. So that's we think once we get enough domes up, then artists can come in, create content, and easily monetize it out over a chain of theaters.
That's something I'll mention I really like about having the visualization centers is they kind of act as the Formula F1, right? So they're if you have that high-end infrastructure, then and you kind of develop on that, then you can really percolate stuff out to the consumer rather than trying to go from consumer up to industrial at a later point in time should you choose to do that. Right?
Okay.
That's it?
Yes.
We're still available for questions. Outside.
Okay, so
Offer some time slot.
thank you guys. Thank you so much for being a good audience, and thanks to our panel members.
Just have one more.
Lori wanted to make sure that if you would like to schedule one-on-one meetings with panelists, to see her, and she's coordinating that. So thank you again. It was fabulous to be part of this wonderful conference.
Thanks, guys.
And did you all keep up the standard?
Yes, you did. Yes, thank you. The next session starts in 15 minutes, and it's a similar topic actually, or a related topic. And the topic is investing in virtual and augmented realities. So that starts in 15 minutes.